Distinguished Ambassador Patricia Espinosa Cantillano, President of the Conference on Climate Change, and Cristiana Figueres, Executive Secretary of the Convention, and I would request you to convey our greetings to Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, with whom it would have been a great pleasure to share this special event for the United Nations. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, today two important international conferences have come to a conclusion. The 16th Conference of the Parties on Climate Change of the United Nations, COP16, and 6th Conference of the Parties to Kyoto Protocol. Like all events in the international arena, the result is due to a collective effort, everyone displaying commitment and sense of responsibility. I'd like to convey my deep appreciation to the chairpersons of the working groups and the facilitators, ministers and delegates, whose major commitment and good offices were basic since the outset of the conferences, contributing in a substantive way to the agreements which have been presented against a background of such hope. In particular, I'd like to thank the ministers, the men and women who in the recent days and hours, literally hours, led negotiations on key issues. Their leadership was vital to the conducting of this process in a transparent and inclusive way. Needless to say, I would also like to express thanks for the patient and focused leadership of my distinguished colleague, the Secretary of Foreign Affairs and President of our conferences, Patricia Espinosa. In recent years, my friends, in particular in 2010, disasters caused by severe weather events have been compounded by climate change and have become all too visible. Our people's eyes have been opened around the world. To me, the conclusion is clear. If we don't start acting now, if we don't begin acting right now, if we don't put aside once and for all excuses for not acting, if we don't do away with the pretexts and the arguments which are making it impossible to act decisively here and now, this will be to the detriment of all, condemning some countries, in particular island states, to possible disappearance. Acting now to the limit permitted by consensus doesn't rule out, nor should it rule out, we will not permit that, our demands or level of ambition. Apart from meetings in previous, or beginning with some events in previous conferences, there was damage to the trust between the parties. The inertia of mistrust led to paralysis and to a worrying feeling of collective incapacity given the crushing reality of climate change. However, with these agreements today, you have broken out of that inertia and have changed that feeling of collective helplessness, replacing it by one of refound hope in multilateralism. Today, thanks to the efforts and the goodwill displayed by you all, ladies and gentlemen, confidence is back, hope has returned, and thereby the broad possibilities of arriving at international agreements in the fight against climate change, and I'd venture to say in many other matters which also require trust and also require hope in the face of our global problems. It was possible to establish, despite all the forecasts, an inclusive and transparent process. Nobody was excluded from the negotiations. Nobody was excluded from the agreements so patiently fashioned with the cooperation of all. In many cases, from the very beginning to the very end, to the last minute. And thanks to the effort all of you have made, it was possible to arrive at understanding on matters where there had been major differences. The search was made at all points for convergence and reconciliation among almost 200 differing points of view.